Hey there, it's Chris from Bureau here. One of the things we talk about a lot with our customers is whether or not their business needs a customer data platform or CDP. And one of the ways that we found really useful in helping customers work out whether they do need one and if so, which is best for their business is to explain the history of the CDP industry as we see it and the different aspects of customer data platforms that have developed in trying to solve different problems. To do that, I want to walk through a few slides. Vero's been around for over 12 years now. We were there when Segment launched before 2012, and we've seen the industry mature, different products launch to solve different problems. And so hopefully this history can be really useful as you consider whether or not you need a CDP in your business. So the place to start is rolling back over a decade, the idea of web-based event tracking. So essentially tracking what customers are doing on your website, in your mobile app, uh, in your SaaS app, and using this data to do analytics, to automate messages, to create more granular segments. And I think it was Mixpanel that really popularized this idea around 2009. And when Vero launched in 2012, we took this concept and took it from the analytics realm and applied it to marketing automation, to customer engagement, to email marketing, and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was this rich stream of customer activity data that marketers could use to segment and automate the messages they're sending their customers? And so if we look at the current slide, what we're trying to show here is that there's customer data sources, so places that your customers are interacting, mobile apps, web-based apps, marketing sites, etc. And tools like Vero in the marketing stack provide libraries in JavaScript, Ruby, PHP, Python, these days a whole array of libraries. And those libraries talk to an API provided by the marketing tool, so in our case, Vero. And Vero then captures that data. And also what I've tried to indicate here is that we store that data on behalf of our customers' businesses in our own internal database in our private cloud. So this picture over a decade ago was the norm, and most customers had this very simple setup. But as this approach became popular, there were more and more tools that marketers wanted to use that followed the same pattern. And so I've used some examples that are really popular today: Vero, Amplitude, and Zendesk. And so in all of these use cases, customer engagement platform, marketing automation for Vero, analytics for Amplitude, customer support for Zendesk. In all of these cases, it's valuable to have this customer activity data in order to decide what to do next. And so originally, each of these providers would provide marketing teams with their own SDK. So, for example, their own JavaScript library. And product and engineering teams would help marketers put this code on the website, in the mobile app, and the data would then flow across to all of the different providers, all of whom storing this data on behalf of their customers in their own database, in their own private cloud. So this presents a few challenges. The first is the more of these libraries you're adding to your app or website, it can slow things down. And so if a customer lands on your web page and you've got to load 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different libraries, that can detract from the user experience really quickly. And the second thing is this is fairly brittle. It's fairly fragile. So imagine that any of the marketing tools in your marketing stack have a period of downtime for minutes or even hours. It's then the case that the data that's flowing to that provider goes missing. And so there's no longer data consistency between the different tools in your stack. And so, for example, you might be automating a message in Vero, but the related data for a funnel you're analyzing in Amplitude isn't there, or perhaps the customer support team isn't empowered with the data they need to do their job. And so this missing data, the fact that the data wasn't complete and accurate, causes challenges for marketing teams across their marketing stack. So in order to solve this challenge, the customer data platform is born. And Segment was, I think, the first to take this approach and certainly the first to popularize it. And what they did is they provided product and engineering and marketing teams with one set of SDKs, one set of libraries. So, for example, one JavaScript snippet to put on their website or in their mobile app. And in essence, all the data then flowed through Segment and they could replay that data to the different tools in the marketing stack. So this starts to solve the challenges we're talking about. in the previous slide. Rather than having 10 libraries on your marketing site, you just have one. So this dramatically helps the speed challenge that we're talking about. And secondly, it enabled Segment to start to build tools to help with completeness and accuracy. So if one of the tools in the marketing stack has some downtime, Segment built tools to automatically replay and retry that data so that there was more completeness and accuracy in the downstream tools. As well as solving those challenges, it also introduced some new wins. Once you'd installed the SDKs on your website in your mobile app, it made it very easy to add or change tools in your marketing stack as a marketer. So if you had the three products on the right, for example, and you wanted to add a fourth, a fifth, a tenth, it was really just a matter of logging into Segment, clicking a button, putting in some API keys, and all of a sudden your data would be flowing. And then over time, Segment developed tools to help backfill data. So that made it even easier to try new tools, to swap tools out, or just to add tools to your marketing stack. So that was really the fundamental, kernel and the first version of Segment, the problems they were trying to solve, and some of the added benefits that doing things this way presented product engineering and marketing teams. However, this did not solve the whole data problem. We've now got at the top of this slide our nice CDP-driven customer activity tracking, but there was data outside of what was being captured on marketing sites or in mobile apps that is very valuable to marketing teams, to product teams, analysts, anyone interacting with customer data. And a really simple example that applies to every business is your payment gateway, your payment processing platform. So Stripe, Adyen, these sorts of products. And that's an example of data that wasn't flowing through this top pipeline. And so, using a SaaS example, you could have all of your marketing site activity, and then once someone logged in, tracking the fact that they logged in, what they did in the product, what widgets they created, what buttons they interacted with, all of that could be flowing really, really nicely. But if you wanted to automate a message or build a funnel in your analytics tool like Amplitude that relied on the amount customers were paying, this could be frustrating because you didn't have that data. And so obviously the payment platform's a rich source of what subscription is a customer on, how has that changed over time, all that sort of stuff. And so in tandem to the development of the top half of this slide, extract, transform, and load ETL tools were providing a means to extract data from platforms like Stripe and hundreds of other data sources and copy and store that data inside a data warehouse owned and managed by your business. So it's running in your own private cloud rather than Fivetrans or some particular vendors. And this, I think, was originally developed for the business intelligence use case. So tools like Tableau, Looker could then plug into the data warehouse. Data engineering teams could model and manipulate the data in the warehouse and then provide nice, clean data sets that you could build very detailed, very complete, very accurate dashboards in your BI tool on top of. And so we're now starting to at least end up with all the data in somewhere owned and managed by different teams within your business. But in order to really bring all the data together, we needed reverse ETL, reverse extract, transform, and load tools to complete the picture. And so reverse ETL tools like Census and Hightouch recognized that there was a rich source of data in the data warehouse coming from these ETL tools, and that data could be activated into the marketing stack, so tools like Vera, Amplitude, and Zendesk, and that would enable marketers to have the full rich set of data, both coming from platforms like Stripe, as well as the data that's being tracked directly from the customer interactions on the website, in the SaaS apps, in your mobile apps. So this is the full picture, I think, of where we're at today in the market. And with this setup, you can really ensure that any data coming from any source can end up cleaned up, modeled, and available in your marketing stack. Now, I will say all of the different products that are on this screen are just examples. There's many, many products in each of the slices of this picture that can be right for your business depending how technical your needs are, what industry you're in, e-com versus SaaS, and so really building out the right picture with the exact right products depends on your needs. But this is a good overview in terms of thinking about the different pieces. There's also a lot of overlap now. So, for example, Segment can do ETL as well as reverse ETL. So can other CDPs like Rudderstack. And so many of these elements can be purchased from one provider, or you can build a more composable solution made up of multiple of these tools. Hopefully that history is really, really valuable. I wanted to leave with one final slide, which is a summary of the warehouse native approach. This is something that we've been championing over the last couple of years at Vero, and for the right sort of customer, it can be really, really powerful. And so in this diagram, we can see that the all data, including the customer activity data, is pushed to a data warehouse where it can then be cleaned up, modeled, organized by a data engineering team. And the idea of a warehouse native solution or a warehouse native marketing tool is that that tool can sit directly on top of the data warehouse and read and write data to the data warehouse rather than storing a copy inside the vendor's own private cloud. So in this example here, rather than us storing a copy at Vero of all your data in our database, we're just accessing your data warehouse as and when data is needed. And so this is an alternate picture to the above or a variant on the above. And can be a really powerful fit because it can mean data lives in less places, which is great for data privacy. It's also great from a cost point of view, so costs can be passed on. Um, and there are several tools that are now taking this warehouse native approach. And so you really can run everything off that central data warehouse if you want to. Vero can be run in both the warehouse native mode or in the more traditional mode where we store a copy of your data, or you can mix and match. But really wanted to include this slide to explain warehouse native, which is a more nascent concept that you might have heard around, and to contrast the different ways you could build your stack. If you got any questions, please let me know. Be very happy to answer. And as I said at the start, walking through this history can often be really helpful for understanding why different elements of CDPs exist, what makes up a composable customer data platform, and the different elements you need to think about as you build out your marketing stack with the other teams in your organization. Thanks very much.